Welcome everyone to Science 200 here at SNHU. I am Dr. Janie Sigmon. I'll be your instructor for this term. Can you believe it? It's January 2025. We'll have a really good time this term learning all about the scientific process, how science is communicated, and in fact, you're going to have practice at this because you're going to research a scientific topic this term starting with the first week and make a presentation in week 8. And you will build on your information throughout the whole term until you produce a presentation at the end. So that will be a lot of fun and very exciting. I love it. If you notice my images in my presentations, all of these are pictures that have been taken by me. And that's why there's no copyright on them. So excuse my voice, but something is going on. So the first thing that you need to do is get your web text. And so you access this through the course and through the bookstore. It is called a Sumo web text. Sumo is the company that produces it. There are 8 chapters in this web text, and we have 8 weeks in the term. And so each chapter corresponds to a particular week in our course. For this week, you need to work through chapter 1. I suggest that you do this before you do anything else because you need the information in the last section, 1.4, to complete even your discussion board postings. So make sure you get into that textbook and work through your exercises in it before you do any of the other work. So, for example, the first section is all about how the textbook works. It shows you how it's divided up, what the activities look like, how the activities are graded. I do none of the grading in the web text. The textbook automatically does this and automatically uploads those scores into Brightspace. I do provide feedback on these at the end of the week, but not during the week. You can redo work. It's not just one question, though. You can't go back and do one question. I believe you can redo everything on one page, but not just one question at the time in order to get a better grade. So if you're seeing that you're not doing very well, go back and redo the work. That's fine. In that section 1.4, you're going to select your scientific topic for this term that you are going to scientifically research. Not just do a Google search. That is not going to cut it. Here are your choices. Excuse my voice, but really something is going on here. Here are the choices. Genetically modified organisms, also called GMOs. Lots of controversy about them. You walk through a grocery store, you're going to see that on a label somewhere, non-GMO. Well, what the heck does it mean? What are these frankenfoods that everybody talks about? You need to learn about what they really, really are, the genes that have been changed in them, why they have been changed. Are there any benefits to these particular organisms? Why are they everywhere? Why is there so much controversy about them? So GMOs, electric cars, they're all in the news, aren't they? Everybody wants a Tesla. My brother-in-law's had 4, I think now. My nephew's had 2. Of course, my nephew wrecked them both. I bet his insurance is out of this world. So anyway, electric cars and the issues surrounding them. So are they as environmentally friendly as everybody makes them out to be? Yes, you plug them into your house to charge them, but where does your electricity come from? So there are all kinds of questions about electric vehicles. Commercial nuclear energy, everybody says nuclear energy and that scares everybody. I have a nuclear power plant that is within a couple of miles of my house. It is a very clean type of energy, believe it or not, but it really is. So you might want to investigate that because it is definitely better than a coal burning power plant. Genetic engineering, and this really refers to genetic engineering in human beings. And this is not engineered So, genetic engineering refers to genetic engineering in human beings. We do not do this yet. We do not change the genes in embryos to repair diseased genes or give traits to this embryo that you want them to have. We don't do this yet, and this is because there are so many ethical issues about this. Who gets to decide which genes are changed? And will there be any guidelines? Yes, there will be in the future. They are not out there yet because this is a huge debate for the whole general public. Who gets to make these decisions? Should we be doing this? There are lots of ethical issues here, so you'll explore that. Ocean acidification, it's one of the results of producing greenhouse gases, excessive carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, diffuses into ocean water, and is lower in the pH of that water. This causes detrimental effects to marine life, and we already see the results of this. So that's a good topic. Biodiversity conservation. So every ecosystem contains a number of different species, right? And all of these species interact with each other. Keeping this biodiversity, that's biodiversity conservation, is tremendously important because every species has a particular role in an ecosystem. It might serve as food for lots of the other organisms. It might break down the bodies of other organisms so that those nutrients can be used and recycled through the ecosystem. It's just very important for all the species to be maintained in an ecosystem in order for the ecosystem to be healthy. This is biodiversity conservation. Human beings throughout time typically take out the apex predators wherever they move into a new area because they don't want competition with the wolves if they're putting cows out to pasture to graze in order to produce milk or have beef cattle or whatever. So we usually take out the apex predators. Does that have consequences? It absolutely does. The best example of this is the reintroduction of wolves into Yellowstone National Park in the last couple of decades, and how the ecosystem has absolutely changed for the best again because the wolves knocked down the elk population, and elk have been destroying the forests in Yellowstone for many, many years now. To the point where other species can't exist. So there has to be a predator of the elk population in order for the whole ecosystem balance to be maintained, and that's where the wolves come in. So if you're interested in something like that, choose biodiversity conservation. Now, if you are not interested in one of those topics, you may choose another one. However, it has to be science, not social science. It has to be natural sciences. So biology, chemistry, physics, geology, astronomy, environmental science. It has to be those. And you need to email me and ask me if this is an appropriate topic. If it is not, I will disapprove it and you will not be able to move forward with that topic. We've got a lot of psychology majors, I'm guessing, or maybe different social science majors in here. Those topics are not appropriate unless they cross over into the field of biology or something like that. So that being said, if you want to choose a topic different from the ones listed here, you must get my okay. You must email me and ask me and let us have a conversation about this. And that is great. I always allow different topics. I love to see different ones. And make sure that you pick something that you're really interested in. Lately, I've had students choose topics that they have been very interested in. I remember one student chose the pollution of a river near where she lived because it was a very serious problem. Another one, a lot of people have hobbies of hiking and kayaking and things like that. And so different students have wanted to look at national parks in their area or wildlife management areas, something like that in their area. Another student went on a vacation to Costa Rica and was absolutely astonished by how much the people there, I mean, the everyday people, were concerned about biodiversity in their ecosystem, in their country, really. And because of this interest, they produced a whole new means of earning money, which is called ecotourism. So this all connects with biodiversity and conservation. So choose something that's interesting to you. You can narrow down these topics too to something, some particular part of it that you're more interested in than the other parts. Just let me know. We'll have a discussion and let's see if we can move forward from there. All right. This week you will also start to learn about the process of science and how it works. Your example this week is Alexander Fleming. Now, I'm a microbiologist, so when I see this example, I am absolutely thrilled because, of course, he was a microbiologist and very famous. He discovered the first true antibiotic. So an antibiotic is a chemical that's produced by an organism that kills or inhibits the growth of bacteria. All right, these are usually fungi, but not always. These are usually fungi. So Alexander Fleming was working in his lab. He'd been on a little vacation. He came back and he was cleaning out petri dishes. Now, petri dishes back then were glass, and so you reused them. So you dumped out the agar, washed them up, and then you could use the petri dishes again. So he was taking a look, he was opening the lids and getting ready to dump out the agar. And when he looked at the plate, he saw this spot of mold growing on the agar, on the surface of the agar. And then he really took a look at it and he went, And here's an example of his plate. He said, look at that. Look at that clear area around where that spot of mold is. The bacteria that I had growing in this plate, Staphylococcus bacteria, like that causes staph infections, these staphylococci are not growing around where the mold is growing. So what that means is that that mold is producing some type of chemical that is inhibiting the growth of those bacteria. He said, that is very interesting. So he said, I want to find out what that is. So he isolated the chemical. He named it penicillin after the type of mold, the species of mold that was growing on the plate. Penicillium notatum. So he named this chemical penicillin. He isolated it, and then it's good. Now, all of y'all know that, penicillin is an antibiotic that is still in use today. Not very much, but it still is in use today. And it is given to people, to animals, to kill off bacterial infections. So what happened then between Alexander Fleming's discovery and us using this as a drug now? Well, a lot happened. Other scientists had to work on this issue because you had to grow up this mold in culture. You had to produce lots and lots and lots of this penicillin chemical, and that was very difficult to do. And then you had to isolate it. You had to purify it. You can't just inject people with a fungus, right? So you had to isolate it and purify it, put it in a form that people would tolerate, test it out to see if it worked, and then bring it to market, which happened during World War II. And many, many soldiers' lives were saved through the use of penicillin during World War II. Because what did a lot of soldiers die from? They didn't die usually from their initial wounds. They died from the infections that were caused by their wounds or post-surgical infections. these were cured many times by penicillin. So there were a lot of steps between Alexander Fleming and us now. And then we have other issues that have come up, like antibiotic resistance in bacteria, and most staphylococci now are resistant to penicillin. In fact, at least 95% of isolates now that any lab isolates of staphylococci are resistant to penicillin. But anyway, that's a different topic. So this is the start of us learning about how science works through Alexander Fleming. And it also shows you that sometimes just by chance you learn things, but you have to be prepared to learn what is happening, and you have to understand the importance of what is happening when you make these observations. And Fleming did this because he said, that's quite an interesting phenomenon. There is no growth bacteria around that colony of fungi. So, very interesting. Love this example. How does science work? Oh, let me move my face over. There you go. So I know that you've learned about this in like the 7th grade, right? Make a hypothesis, design an experiment, do it, gather the data, draw a conclusion. Okay, yeah, that's the simple way that science works. But of course, that is not actually how science works. That is a simplified version. For the first thing that you have to do if you start a new project, you have to do a tremendous amount of background research. Oh my goodness. You have to learn everything that you can about a subject. Everything. You have to look at what everybody else has done. You have to understand what they've done and understand what it means, understand where it needs to go in the future, what future questions there are out there. So the background information gathering step is tremendously important and can take a while, and does take a while. And of course, you continue to do this the whole time that you're working on any particular project. Then you formulate a hypothesis, or many. Okay, so formulate a hypothesis. So that's one of those if-then statements, and it's a way to set up questions that you're going to answer. You perform your experiments over and over and over and over and over again. You would never perform an experiment once and draw conclusions based on that. Nope, that is not going to happen. Even if you're lucky enough in a science lab to do an experiment 3 times, that would be the absolute minimum. But you don't do that in science. You perform these experiments over and over and over and over and over again to make sure that the results that you're getting are true results that you're getting every time, that are because of whatever this phenomenon is that you are studying. Okay? You collect your data the whole time. Collect. Then you analyze it. You analyze it statistically. Is this significant? Is this a significant finding, or is it just happening by chance once in a while? So you analyze it statistically. Then you draw conclusions. All right, what does this mean? You have to figure that out, because you're going to tell people what you think this means. You're going to determine your next steps, the next experiments that need to be done, the next questions that you already have coming up. And then what do? You publish your work in a peer-reviewed journal. So a journal is kind of like a magazine. Of course, nowadays, all scientific journals are online. They aren't paper anymore. But you submit your work, you write it up according to their instructions, which are always very, very specific. Write up all of your work in the proper sections that they require. You put the references in the form that they want, etc., etc. You turn it in, send it in to them. Okay? The editor gets it. The editor determines, are we going to carry this forward? Are we going to send this out to the peer reviewers? Yes, no. No, they'll send it right back. Yes, okay, they send it to the peer reviewers. Peer reviewers are people in your same field that understand all of this, that have done this work before. and they will read your work and they will determine whether your work can be published. It almost never is checked off and said, okay, we can publish it as is. Almost always it is sent back, and the comments will be, well, there are three choices. Yes, we'll publish it this way. No, we will not publish it. Or yes, we will publish it with these corrections or additions or changes. And so normally you make the changes because that's normally what happens. It comes back and you need to make changes. You make all the changes, you send the article back in, and then hopefully it gets published. And it should if you made the changes that they asked for. So that's the peer review process. Okay, then it gets published, and now everybody out there in the world can read it, and they do read it, and they critique it. Maybe they use it as a reference for papers that they are writing. Hopefully that's the way that it works. But if there's any backlash, if people are saying, well, no, that's not what I found, and no, I don't think that's the correct conclusion, you will hear about it, and so will the rest of the scientific community. So the peer review process is terribly important in science. It keeps everybody honest, and it's not like you're trying to be dishonest. It's the fact that you may just have come to the wrong conclusion about something. Or you may need to look at this from a different point of view. You may have not considered something. So peer review is terribly important. All right, so what do we have going on this week? You need to get into your web text and do all that work, right? And choose your topic before you move on to your discussion post. So this week you have discussion board postings that are due. The initial post is always going to be due by Thursday evening before midnight. All right? In this first set of postings, your initial post is introducing yourself. So we need to get to know each other, right? I made a whole introduction video of me. You need to introduce yourself to us. So who are you? What are you about? Where do you live? What's your major? What's your life situation? What are your hobbies? We always love stuff like that. If you have any pets, please post pictures of them. I love pets. Oh my goodness. There should be 1 or 2 paragraphs, right? Then you're going to answer these questions. Which of the 6 fields of natural sciences interest you the most? Astrology is not one. That's astronomy. Astronomy, the study of space, the stars, the planets, etc. Yeah, black holes, all that. Not astrology. I'm a Virgo. No. Okay, so which of the 6 natural science fields are you most interested in, and why? Okay, and then, is this field related to the topic that you have chosen? So that means that you have to tell us what your topic is, right? So if you chose astronomy, is that related to electric vehicles? I don't know, maybe remotely through the climate, something like that. Yeah, maybe. Okay. So you're going to answer those questions. And then you will also be required to make 2 response posts to 2 of your classmates during the same week. These response posts are always due by Sunday evening before midnight. Include what you have in common, because we're trying to make connections here between each of us. What do you have in common? Whether you agree or disagree with them. Did you like the same field of natural science? Did you choose the same topic? Because you will find things that you have in common with some of your classmates. So read through those. Choose 2 that you would like to respond to. Now, these need to be substantive. You had a nice post. I agree with you. No. Come on now. Give us detail. Make real connections here. If you were standing in front of that person, would that be the right thing to say? So, you're trying to make a connection with this person. Find out if you do have something in common with them. Do you have the same major? Do you live in the same state? Do you have the same hobbies? Whatever. And then talk about your topics. Okay? So those are your discussion board postings. I didn't say that you needed to choose your topic. I think I did on one of the first slides, but that's one of your assignments too, besides the textbook, the discussion board postings, and then you have to turn in which topic you have chosen, and you will see that. You will work through that in your Sumo web text and upload it that way. I grade those. I grade the discussion board postings, okay? Then I have some hints. I usually have some hints or tips at the end of my videos. Watch my videos in the announcements every week. I will not have one. This is a terribly long one today. Watch my videos in the announcements every week. And that's because I talk about the science. I talk about your assignments. I talk about deadlines. And I talk about hints and tips. Deadlines are important, Thursdays and Sundays. Everything is due on Sunday except that initial discussion board post, which is due on Thursday. Follow the guidelines and rubric for each assignment. So what the heck are those? The rubric is how I grade, right? You have to have this information, that information, that information. And then how well you do each of those is what I choose. So the rubric is the grading form. The guidelines are the instructions. They tell you what you need to do, how you need to do it, where you need to upload it, all that sort of thing. So guidelines are terribly important. Read the feedback that I give. That's important. This term-long project builds every week. So you'll turn in something, I'll give you feedback. The next week, you turn that in again, and you can fix it if anything is wrong with it. So that's why you need to look at that feedback. You're fixing things as you go along so that you have a perfect score at the end, right? So read the feedback that I give. Label everything, every file that you turn in. Oh, please, please don't put Science 200 as the name of your file to turn in every week. You're going to get mixed up. So make sure you even label your file names, but also label the information in the document itself. So this is Science 200. What's your name? What's a day? What's my name? What is this assignment? Assignment 1-4, right? So label everything. Very important. You're going to get mixed up. I'm going to get mixed up if I can't tell what this thing is that I'm looking at, okay? If you have any doubts whatsoever, if you really just don't understand this assignment, please ask me. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. If you don't understand the science, that's what I'm here for. If you don't know how to do these searches, that's what I'm here for. I have done every type of search possible in the world, from Google searches to PubMed searches to using the Shapiro library. I use it too. When in doubt, ask me. That's why I'm here. That's why I teach. I'm facilitating your learning. I'm helping you through this process, and I want to help you. So all you have to do is ask me. All you have to do is tell me that you're having some trouble. We can figure it out. I promise you. If you're having any personal issues that's keeping you from turning in your work, please let me know. We can work through this. I promise. All right. With that being said, I hope that you have a wonderful week number 1, and I can't wait to get started and see what you start writing in your discussion board postings. Have a great week.